Kolarac, a village near Belgrade. Although it is not a top destination for tourists, who are actually getting more interested in village tourism, the village Kolarac is known in Serbia as well as around the world. Kolarac is a unique village thanks to one of the greatest Serbian benefactors, Ilija Milosavljević, who, as a token of remembrance of the place where he was born in 1800, added the nickname Kolarac to his name, straight from Kolari and hardly knowing the alphabet. Ilija Milosavljević, still a little boy, started his life adventure amidst the tumultuous events that happened in Serbia during the 19th century. Ambitious, resourceful, and hardworking, he, as a merchant, gained huge property, which he, being a patriot and a man aware of the importance of education, bequeathed to the Serbian people with the aim to establish a literary fund and a Serbian university. The literary fund, with the original capital of 10,000 ducats, was established in 1861 during Kolarac's life, and the construction of the university, as well as the Kolarac Foundation in Student Square, started in the 1920s. The building was inaugurated on the 19th of October 1932, and the first concert was held a bit earlier on the 4th of February the same year. The Belgrade Philharmonic was conducted by Stevan Hristić. It was a great event which the Belgrade press wrote extensively about. It is the first time that one big orchestra is playing in Belgrade in a big hall, particularly built for concerts. And that hall is not only big, but architecturally magnificent and acoustic. The sounds of a big ensemble and all nuances of colors of different instruments and instrumentals show a great harmony, Politica wrote. Both the audience and the press were delighted with the first concert hall in Belgrade, which, as Pravda wrote, has harmonic dimensions and is provided with comfortable chairs that do not squeak. They were also full of praise for the architect, University professor Petar Bajolović. Thanks to his extraordinary feeling for architectural and acoustic problems, the architect Petar Bajolović, a great art music lover, is still remembered after 75 years as the creator of the most acoustic concert hall in Belgrade. The beginning of the work of the Kolarac National University and the concert hall was undoubtedly one of the most important events of 1932 in the capital of former Yugoslavia. Concerts of the most famous pianists of that time, Carlo Zecchi and Arthur Rubinstein, attracted a lot of attention that year. The concert hall of the Kolarac Foundation became the heart of cultural life in Belgrade, which was slowly spreading and growing. It was written that in 1935, after the decision that had been made at the end of the 19th century, the construction of St. Sava Temple at Vračar started. A new and very important traffic artery was inaugurated, the first bridge across the Danube known as the Pančevo Bridge. It was also written that that year a famous French cellist, Pierre Fournier, and acclaimed Russian composer and pianist, Sergei Prokofiev, whose performance did not make a strong impression on music critics, performed at Kolarac. Following examples of big cities, an international fair was inaugurated on the left bank of the River Sava in 1937. This architecturally interesting building, which represented a specific connection with the latest achievements, like many others, didn't survive German bombing in 1941. But the Kolarac Foundation did. Even in those war times, in besieged Belgrade, music was played there, even under the German military occupation. The end of the Second World War was another beginning for Belgrade. While the borders of the old town were moving, a completely new town was developing on the left bank of the River Sava, New Belgrade. It was also the time when, in very hard conditions, but with a lot of energy, the concert life was reborn in the concert hall of the Kolarac Foundation. In those post-war years, the Belgrade audience met the very young and talented Slovenian pianist Dubravka Tomšič, as well as the British pianist Kendall Taylor, who tutored many Belgrade pianists later on. In the second half of the 1950s, the Kolarac Foundation was the place where some music performers, who displayed their art there, became regular guests in the coming decades. They would often emphasize that a very unique atmosphere permeated Kolarac, and that the Belgrade audience was extraordinary. One of them was the violinist Henrik Schering, who often shared his experience with our outstanding violinist Jovan Kolongia. The Italian pianist Aldo Ciccolini, who, even in his old age, could not resist Kolarac, held his last recital almost 50 years after his first performance in this building. These years, the concert hall of the Kolarac Foundation was enriched by the sound of world legends like the jazz musician Dizzy Gillespie, the pianist Nikita Magalov, and the violinist David Ostrov and Yehudi Menuhin. TV Belgrade, whose cameras often recorded important events at Kolarac, started its broadcast in 1958. However, they did not manage to record the first performance of a young unknown, who today is one of the most distinguished conductors in the world, Zubin Mehta. At the beginning of the 1960s, Belgrade lived in the sign of the first conference of leaders and governments of non-allied countries, as well as of marvelous concerts where, in the concert hall of the Kolarac Foundation, performed the American composer and pianist Aaron Copland, the Russian violinist Eduard Grach, and the distinguished conductor Kirill Kondrashin. In 1967, in Belgrade was marked by the first BTEF, one of the most attractive international theater festivals in Europe. However, the performance of great musicians was not dimmed by the arrival of international theater groups. Some of the great artists, like the pianist Sviatoslav Richter and the cellist Mstislav Rostropovich, appeared on the stage of Kolarac for the first time. This living music icon, we hope, is coming back to the stage of the Kolarac Foundation in 2007, with the tour organized for his 80th birthday after 40 years of his first meeting with the Belgrade audience. 1969 was a very important year both for the world and for Belgrade. The American astronaut Neil Armstrong made that small step for man but a giant leap for mankind on the moon. And Belgrade made a unique small giant step by establishing the Belgrade Music Festival BEMUS, an international music festival that gathered local and international music artists, mostly under the roof of the Kolarac Foundation. In this way, Kolarac confirmed its status as an unrivaled music temple, although new halls have been built in the meantime, including the Sava Center. The hall, with 883 seats, often filled beyond its capacity, a projection screen, a sound recording studio, audio and video equipment, is the place of music life for many generations. Thanks to this hall, we realized that even in the hardest moments for Serbia, we were not on the sideline of music events, and we were not a music province of the world. Besides BEMUS, Different important events are held in this hall every year, like the International Gathering of Composers, the International Jeunesse Musicale Competition, the Guitar Art Festival, the Harp Festival. Besides distinguished international artists, soloists, orchestras, choirs, and conductors, the stage of the Kolarac Foundation has always been the second home to our local musicians, who had their greatest achievements right in this hall. Mostly, it has been the home of the Belgrade Philharmonic and the Radio Television Belgrade Symphony Orchestra that have a record-breaking number of held concerts. At the same time, it was the place where we discovered the extraordinary talent of Stefan Milinkovic, Nemanja Radilovic, Natasha Velkovic, Alexander Serdar, Alexander Majar, Kamal Gekic, and many other talented kids who, growing up and gaining international fame and awards, have always been loyal to their Kolaracs. The Kolarac Foundation has also been awarded the Dosite Prize, the Golden Link, the Vuk Prize, the Order of Merit, St. Sava's Medal of the First Degree, in the last 75 years, more than 10,000 concerts have been held in the concert hall of the Kolarac Foundation. In this hall, the works of classical and modern music have been performed, as well as the works of Serbian composers that were performed for the first time. We could also hear the sounds of traditional folk music, both in its original and adapted form. At the same time, the door of this hall has been open for other events, congresses, assemblies, poetry, and literary evenings. The famous French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre made a speech here, and Yves Montand sang the most beautiful lines written by French poets. In the meantime, Belgrade has become a modern city where nice and difficult moments have overlapped in the life of its citizens. When it was hard, this hall was a kind of consolation and a place where they could hear the voice of harmony and beauty. Whatever happened in Belgrade, destruction or construction, Kolarac, always full of positive energy, joy, and optimism springing from music, has survived and deserved all those rounds of applause echoing after concerts. The rounds of applause for art, for music, and of course, for a far-sighted and wise benefactor, Kolarac.